everybody, and welcome back to another episode of GWC Marriage Works Ministry, Marriage Moment. We are excited to have another evening with our panelists and to continue talking about marriage. We have dedicated the entire month of February to marriages, and those of you all that have been tuning in with us each week, thank you. This is Pastor Steve, your favorite online pastor, with First Lady G here, and we got our panelists, Brother Will and Lisa Davis with us tonight.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
And we're going to jump right into it. We've been talking about C.P.R, the 3 reasons and the 3 purposes God created marriage. And we said companionship, procreation, and redemption. So we've been talking about companionship pretty good the last couple of weeks. We had a wonderful panelist last week that kind of gave us some insight on blending situations. You know how they say we're blending now, right? You know, they don't use the term stepkids and all that anymore. It's like we're blending. So we talked about the challenges that come along with that. And tonight we're going to have our panelists. They have a little blending scenario themselves that they can share with us. But tonight we're going to delve into more about the recreational part of procreation. So you all, we told you if you want to follow along with us, go to the Linktree app in the About section of our Facebook bio. You can click on the Linktree and the PowerPoint presentations there for you to follow along with us throughout. And we're happy to have our veterans in the house, 56 years with us all. And I think we want to open up, Lady G, by giving congratulations to another couple that's celebrating. Will and Lisa, tell us a little bit about yourself and how many years you guys are celebrating your marriage.
Okay, well, thanks again for inviting us. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Will Davis. I am an IT manager for a managed services company, a consultant for the city of Chicago. Well, me and my lovely wife have been married for 24 years.
Woo!
Thank you. We just celebrated our 24th wedding anniversary this past weekend on February 13th.
Wow.
Okay.
So we've been together totally, a total amount of years of 26 years, but married 24 years. So that's it in a nutshell. I'll let my wife add a bit to it.
Hi, everyone. Again, thank you for allowing us to be a part of this. My name is Lisa Davis, and yes, like my handsome husband stated, we've been married for 24 years. It has been a wonderful marriage. I am a senior senior administrator for a prestigious firm downtown. So thank you again.
All right. And just something so you know, Will, I often like to, I guess I've been able to say this a few times in the last year, that Will is probably one of my oldest friends because he was one of my first friends in high school. In our freshman year of high school, back in what? PLJ, all day long.
That's right, class 87.
Class 87, you better recognize. And we've been friends in high school, and then we kind of hadn't seen each other in a long time, and then I coincidentally started working at IBM, and my friend Lisa right here, I worked with her, and I was sitting at her cubicle one day when I first started the job, and she had a picture on her desk, and I said, wait a minute. I said, are you married to Will? Jill Will?
Chill Will.
The leader of our Get Fresh rap group back in high school. And she said, that's my husband. I said, that's my friend right there. And she called him up right there. She said, guess who I got in my cubicle right now? And from then on, we just kind of got back to being friends again. They've been actually helping us with some of our community outreach initiative. You all probably saw them this past Thanksgiving with the turkeys as well. So I'm just so happy to have my friend and my friend back with me. So
Right, it's a pleasure.
yeah.
That's how God works.
Yeah, for such a time as this. All right, so y'all, that deep voice, that dressing voice you got, y'all gonna have to, turn your volumes up because you feel that bass in your chest. All right, so we asked them to come and be with us today because we're talking about a couple of topics tonight. We're gonna go right into it.
Let's go.
What happens when, let me put it this way. You remember a woman she used to testify at the church we came from, and Friday night she would get up and testify that it's hard to get intimate when the bills are due. And so, when the bills aren't paid. Yeah, we was like, why is she talking about that? But come to understand, that's a real fact. And when we're talking about reasons why marriages aren't lasting or reasons that marriages are having challenges, that's one of them. You look, how many know that when you out of money, you feel like you don't have no money? You can feel that thing. And it permeates all throughout every area of your marriage and your family. So tonight we want to talk about some of the things that causes people to have those problems. All right, so let me ask the 24-year-old, what do you all know today that you didn't know when you first got married?
That is a great question. Wow, how do I answer that? What do I know today that I did not know when I first got married?
Well, one thing I can say, I'm sorry, is that this is our second marriage. So we knew going into this marriage, the first marriage, both of our first marriages was short-lived. Mm-hmm. So we knew going into this marriage what we was not going to take from the first marriage.
So what didn't work in that marriage, we knew that wasn't the formula to make this marriage work.
Okay.
So, but the key, communication is definitely the one thing that allowed us to stay together, to be able to understand one another, because without that, I don't know how she feels if she doesn't tell me, she doesn't know how I feel if I don't tell her. So the communication factor is really big, and then also the respect factor. You know, I can communicate with you, but if you don't respect how I feel about a certain situation, then there's no void, right? It has no bearing. It's just going in one ear and out the other. So going into our marriage, we knew that we had to communicate. And back to your initial statement about the blending of families, that was also important too. Because not only do we have to communicate, we have to also make sure that our communication is also seen, and the children that are blending see an example of, all right, our parents are getting along and they're communicating. So they also have to establish that too, because when families kind of blend, you know, one child may feel favoritism, or they may feel I'm not getting this attention, or things like that. So that was basically one of the, I guess I could say, from my point of view, and I'm sure my wife agrees, that that was the big factor. You know, going in, we knew, or didn't really know exactly, but that's what kind of made things work for us.
Okay. And you know what I like that you all talked about, and that you were vulnerable to be able to open up. Because we keep it real, we keep it 100. I love the fact that you brought up that this was the second marriage, because this should be an encouragement to those of you all that are watching, that marriages, if it's a second time, it still can be successful. Right. That it's not over because it didn't work out the first time. Right. Now, are we advocating, you know, if at first you don't succeed, try again? Probably not. But we can all relate that and see tonight that this is a wonderful example how God can restore that. And he can give you that second chance, because he is the God of second chances. And thank you all for sharing that. And then you were talking about the blending part. So how did that factor in? So you came in with how many kids?
I came in with the daughter.
With the daughter? Yes.
And I came in with 2 boys and a girl.
All right.
Three kids. So for me, it was important. For one, I needed to see how he interacted with my children. That I was watching that all the time. And one time I recall when we were at I think a relative's home, and my son was just sitting in his, what is it called, a bouncy, and he was screaming and hollering, and everybody was walking past ignoring him. And he picked him up, consoled him, and stopped him from crying. And at that point, that made me realize, oh, this guy may be all right.
I don't even remember that.
Those are little notes that I took. And also for me, I watched how he treated his mother. That was really something that I keyed in on. I wanted to make sure, okay, how he treats his mother is how he's going to treat me and treat the children.
And for me, having a daughter, you know, I wanted to make sure who my next mate would be, or a companion, or someone that I would have near and close to her, would be someone that would respect her, respect me, but treat her as if she's special, or love her as much as I love her. If, if that makes sense. I didn't want another person coming in. Girls are a little different. I'm sure you all can understand. Being women, girls are somewhat really loving of their dads. So when somebody else comes in, that's not their biological mom. They tend to, maybe get a little jealous. Okay. And look at that as, well, who is this new person? So Lisa did a great job of bringing her in and loving her and making her feel welcome. So that was key. So when I saw that, it was, okay, all right, this may be something. Yeah.
And I've seen all of you all's Facebook posts of all of the kids' activities and achievements, and just looking at the pictures, I could never tell that there probably could have ever been any type of dissension or turmoil. You all just seem like you all just gel so well together with the kids, and you all just support them so well. And I think that's something that, because we deal with marriage couples a lot, and that's one of the things that comes in is, navigating the waters of first being married, and then now bringing in the aspect of, this is my daughter, this is her son, different personalities coming in, different ways, parenting styles. You know what? Before we go on, let's talk about that. Parenting styles. What happens when the marriage is in trouble? And it's because the couple just can't agree on how the children should be parented. How do you all handle that? Because I'm sure, Will, you mentioned that she loved her dad, so she sounded like she might have been a daddy's girl.
Yes.
And then you got two sons, or maybe they were a couple of maybe mom boys.
Yeah, well, you know what? With the discipline part, I was for my children, I was the primary disciplinary for them. We would discuss it, but I was the primary. So I never really liked for William to. William has the voice.
That's what I was going to say. I was going to speak. So honestly, I'm going to tell you, I didn't feel comfortable having to be the one to apply what the Bible says, spare the rod. So I knew Mama Lisa was going to handle that part of it, right? If they need to be disciplined. So I didn't feel that I had to be the one to impart on that act. But my voice alone and demanding, hey, no, exactly, you're going to listen to what your mom told you to do, right? Or you need to straighten up. So that was always my approach. I was the talker, with some sternness to say, hey, all right, we need to, kind of straighten up. Lisa never had to discipline my daughter. I took control of that, or if she did, I allowed her to. There were times where she may have had to speak to my daughter about something.
Right.
Yeah, so I would step back and let her discipline my daughter in the way that that needed to be done. It was nothing physical, but she had to understand that when you come visit, that this is the queen of the house. So you have to adapt to the queen of the house. If she says, right, if she says, hey, it's time to do this and that, you have to buy this and that. And everything went well. So,
all right. So now, let's turn it into what we're talking about today. Now, how did that affect, did that affect you all's intimacy in terms of the marriage at all?
It affected intimacy.
In terms of you to spend that quality time and...
Well, here's the deal. So, having 3 children and 4 on those weekends, my daughter with us, you have to make sure that everything is decent in order in terms of the kids are fed and everything is done. So you have to find that time, be it sitting and watching a movie or just talking at the kitchen table. But if there was something going on that was serious to the point where it may have affected that, maybe, but it wasn't anything that was, I say that would go on for a long period of time.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Glad to do. Okay.
All right. So let's go ahead and let's look at the 10 common causes So we're talking about the recreation. Now, last week we talked about the procreation part, how the C.P.R, three of the purposes God created marriage was for companionship and procreation, and then we said / recreation, because this is a very serious issue in marriages. And we have the 10 common causes, and again, this is not an exhaustive list, but this is kind of what we've seen over our last 20 years of doing marriage coaching and things we've heard. So let's just kind of stab at some of these. I talked about again about, there's no bedroom connection when there's past due bill disconnections. Can anybody relate to that? That it's not very exciting when the bill's about to be cut off and there's no money. So we talk about finances. So how does finances, we got our audience here, you all can talk about it too. How does finances affect the intimacy of the marriage?
Finances is a very a key topic in a relationship, in a marriage. Without finances, you can't maintain your home. You can't buy your wife or your mate certain things. You can't pay the bills. You got mortgage due, car note, insurance. So without finances, that plays a heavy toll on any relationship, because your whole mindset at that point is thinking, well, how can I make these bills, or how can I make ends meet? Do I have to get a second job, or what do we have to sacrifice? Do we have to sacrifice one bill to pay another bill? So with that stress, that's definitely going to have an impact on any intimate sort of relationship in your marriage.
What do you think about that, Bernie?
I think that there's two reasons why finances can either be a good thing or it can be a bad thing. So what I mean by that is, a good thing is, or I'll use an example, I'll be transparent. So when my husband and I first got married, I had just had my son, our oldest son, and we were married on March 23rd. I had my son on April 2nd, and a week or two later, Steve lost his job. So we were newly married, new house, new child. It was really hard for us, and it crept into our marriage very badly, very badly. It was to a point, I remember one time, the thing about it is though, Steve did everything that he could to make sure that he found work for us, because he knew, I was working, but I was on maternity leave. So my money was the only money coming in, and it was really, really hard. But I did like the fact that one of the things I always tell Steve, or Pastor Steve, that I really was impressed with him about was when he did lose his job. I remember there were times we didn't have milk for my son, and he would literally go out and ask people for a transfer. I don't know if people remember transfers, but they used to get a transfer on CTA. So he would actually literally beg people on the street to give him a transfer so he can get to across town so he can get milk for his son. And so I always admired that about him, because he knew the situation. He didn't want to be in the situation, but it is what it is. But it did cause friction in our marriage, because we were just new and we were just learning this thing, and it was hard. And we had God in our lives, but we weren't as faithful in the walk as we could have been. And so I didn't really have God to lean on like I really, really should have leaned on him. But it was very, very hard. So finances without God to help you through those rough times, it's not going to work.
And I'm glad she shared that, because here's something, fellas, I'm talking to the brothers right now. We have a tendency to be able to compartmentalize, can't we? Right. We have a way of separating the bedroom from the other aspects of the house. Right. Let's just keep it real. We like, what do you mean? No. What's the problem here? And women tend to be more emotional. Their connection becomes more emotional. If they don't feel it here, it's not going to be felt somewhere else. We tend to be able to keep it up here. And then that's when we have the issues in the marriage where we don't understand why she ain't in the mood tonight. Or you try to sidle up to her, she talking about, you see what came in the mail today? Right. Yeah, it was on the table, still on the table right now. And she's like, what we gonna do about that? And we like, okay, right now, we ain't talking about the gas bill right now. We trying to heat something else up. And right now, that's how, and marriage is now, I hear that. They're like, what's the problem? That we're not having intimacy. We're not having relations like we should. But we're forgetting the fact that if all of the other areas in the life, if your finances are down and you can't pay stuff, listen, Lisa, when you get through, are the bills still there? So okay, let's say, fellas, ladies, we put that aside. And whatever time later, if you come back, did that bill get paid?
No, sir.
Is that disconnection notice still down on the table?
Yeah.
So then that's where the issue comes, because now you come off of that high, and the problem is still smacking you in the face. And then the woman is disenfranchised because she's wondering why the man is more concerned about physical and not fixing the problem that's causing us the emotion in our life. I'm going to let some of y'all talk on that one. And we got those in the audience. We got couples in the audience. We got a young couple in the audience. We got an older couple in the audience. What do you all think about that? How important is the bills being paid to you as it relates to your romantic side of your marriage? Let's get the microphone over there. Or maybe I'm being unfair. Maybe this is the wife that's compartmentalized. Probably not.
Right, so I'm waiting on someone else to speak. I would like to also add, as men,
Compartmentalized.
Thank you. But we think of things and we try to figure things out, and we have a plan that sometimes we might not communicate with our wives. Right? So our wives come to us and they don't see us stressed out, and we're not pulling our hair out and we're not bouncing off the wall. We chill as we can be, right? But they don't know sometimes that, hey, I'm figuring this thing out. I just haven't disclosed my plan to you yet. I'm trying to work this out. So women are, like you said, emotional, and they want to know. Let's talk about it. Let's sit down. We need to see how many pennies you got in the bank, how many you got, who we can go to, this and that. Man, we figure all that out in our head, and we don't say anything. And we still want to have that physical, because that's nature of human and being married, and those things don't really apply to us in the terms where we get upset and not want to partake or be intimate. Right. So I think that's part of it as well. But there are some women who that may think it's men as well.
Do I have a question for you, Rob?
No.
Okay.
I was going to say, women, we do have an emotional disconnect when the bills are not paid. We can't focus on, most women can't focus on anything else. It's hard for us to connect with our mate at that particular time when we're thinking about the lights may be turned off tomorrow, the gas may be turned off. So it's hard to get that connection when we have other things rumbling through our minds.
True.
All right.
Is either wrong?
No,
All right.
I would say that.
Anybody go ahead? We got a comment in the audience. Go ahead, man.
Speaking
Mic check, okay. Well, with that being said, how can we resolve this situation? Because I can understand, I definitely feel where you come from, bro. I don't know your name. Will, nice to meet you, Will. Brother Sims. And your name is?
Lisa.
Nice to meet you, Lisa. But because I totally feel where you're coming from, Will, but I also can, open up my heart to understand where Lisa's coming from, because my wife's sitting right here, and she definitely had that mindset to where, she can't really,
I like to be worry-free.
She like to be worry-free. Same, but the crazy thing about it is men do too.
Yes.
But sometimes you can't control the situation. That bill just came. You weren't even expecting it. It just showed up like, oh, $1,000 here, $1,000 there. So, you know, in my mind, you know, and I try to open myself up more to how she feels, you know, because that's our job, you know, even though we're a stronger vessel at times, but sometimes I might not be as strong as her. But I don't want to put that on her like, I'm feeling what you feeling, you know what I mean? Like, so.
Will, you mentioned something earlier, so you said how do we resolve that, right, Caleb?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I think Will said something that made sense, but I think we need to take it a step further. So he said that in our mind as men, Alan, you can probably relate to that, you know, we're laying up thinking all the time. You know, the wheels are turning. You know, we're trying to formulate a plan. We're trying to put it together. But Will said maybe perhaps we didn't disclose it. So now, ladies, let me ask you questions. And you on social media, you can put on in the chat too as well. So with knowing what the plan is, would that change your mind that night?
Good question.
That's why I brought up our situation, is because at least I knew Steve was doing something about the situation. Did it help? No, but like you said, the bills were still there, but I knew that he was doing something about it. And when Will said that we don't always disclose it, I don't think that that's fair. I think that you should at least come to the wife and say, look, I don't know what the plan is right now. I'm thinking about it. I'm seeking God for it. I'm planning for it. But tell her something. Just don't leave it out in the air for her not to know what's going on.
Absolutely, I agree. There's comfort in knowing that they're thinking about it, because to me, some men, not all, some men don't tend to share their inner feelings when it's trouble in the house. Mm-hmm. We have to try to figure it out, or they just don't disclose it. And that can be an issue within a marriage if you don't disclose that there's a problem and you don't disclose the plan.
Right, and so this might be the reason why, because this goes back to childhood and how men are raised, right? Boys are told to be tough, right? Don't show your emotions, right? You can't cry. Don't show that you're weak. You know, even in our weakest moments, we still have to be strong. We're the leaders in the head of the home, right? With God being the head. But I think that may play into the role in terms of sometimes why men may not communicate, because they don't want to come and disclose half of a solution. We want to have a full solution for you. But you made a great point. At least we need to start considering you all's thought and understanding, or wanting an understanding of us providing something. If we share what we're thinking, at least you know we're trying to come up with a plan. And that will put you all at ease. I'm guessing that's what you're saying here, right? Duly noted.
I agree with that, because one of the things I try now to do is, now we communicate a lot more than we used to. And I'm going to put this out there too, because number one reason why there's no intimacy in the bedroom is poor communication. Not being able to talk to each other.
Right.
Sometimes we may want to disclose that plan, but we might have some trepidation about how it will be received once we tell it. You know, sometimes, let's keep it real, sometimes we're gonna take the path of least resistance sometimes. And it's like, well, I'd rather avoid all that and not say nothing until I have something to say. And I'm right now, I have this mindset of one communication. I'm not going to tell her anything really anymore until I know that it's going to happen. Especially if it's going to be something that's going to be hopes and dreams and all of that, because I don't want to have to come back later and it didn't happen. So we found that, okay, I'm telling you this, it's going to happen, this is when it's going to, because women like information.
Yes.
Isn't that right?
Yes.
They want the details.
Man.
You know, men, look, can y'all relate? We talking headlines, don't we?
Yeah.
Bill due, will get paid. They want bill due, which bill? Why is it not paid? Why is it due? And when is it going to get paid? What day is it going to be paid?
Which account is coming?
Exactly. So a lot of that information, so she's saying that if you disclose some part of it, we might be wondering, well, is that going to be enough information? Or will there be more questions that come with it?
It would definitely be a question.
To my point. That's to my point.
Absolutely. Because we are creatures of details. We have to know the details. You're just saying, okay, I'm thinking about the process. No, I need to know the details of the process.
Look at the word gravity.
The thing is, our job here as couples is to empower other couples that are struggling with finances. And the struggle is, men, tell your wife. That's it. That'll fix the problem. We're the women, the other half of the marriage, of the partnership, and we're telling you what works for us. I don't know if the other women in the audience want to, chime in, but we're telling you that talking to us, whether you have half of a plan, some plan, something helps us. It eases the struggle for us. Now, I'm not saying that it's a solution, but it does ease the problem because we know that you're working on it. And so men should not be afraid of the hard conversation because it's a hard conversation. So you should not be afraid of the hard conversation. Approach it, man up, and attack it.
So what it is that you need to know everything, not just part of the thing. Hold on. You need to know what you're thinking and how you think it out. But as a couple, you should talk it out, and you should iron it out, you should plan it out, and we should be together. Now, if Steve said, well, baby, we're going to do this and this and that, and then you change your mind, wait a minute, we didn't discuss that. We didn't discuss that. We had a plan, and this is what we're going to do. Stick to that one plan, because we talk it over together. You can't go contrary. You can't just jump out and just say, oh, no, you didn't say that. I was thinking this. I think you're going to do this, but now you jump into another road.
It sounds like to me that you're talking under the assumption that it's the man that is supposed to pay the bill or who pays the bill. What if it's reversed? What if it's the woman who handles the bills? Because in our marriage, I've never paid a bill. We started out that I was going to pay all the bills. I found out I wasn't good at it.
But we went to counseling though, and the counseling, the minister said, okay. The minister told us that it doesn't matter who's the best at paying the bills. It doesn't matter. It's not like it's a title or a label.
It's not a duty of one person. Right? It can't be. Okay, so you're the man. You got to pay the bills. It doesn't work like that in a marriage. It doesn't work like that in a couple. I wasn't good at it, so I said, okay, well, you do it. She was better at it than me.
And he also said, that stuck with me, is that, like, guys, they don't, the manly part, and other guys be teasing them, man, you gotta give your woman all your money.
And that's when you put them out of your marriage.
Right, you put them out of your, and he said, and it stuck with me, he said, we put the money in the bank, it doesn't have a name on it. Yep. And it works for whatever we need. He said, if you divide it, one is going that way, one is going that way. So we never had a problem with money, as far as the bill. Now what Alan will say is, when he's thinking lovey-dovey, and I got a bill on my mind, he said, God handle that, don't worry about it. God handle that, and I was saying, yeah, God gonna handle it, but not right now. But me and look at things a little easier.
When I say that, I'm trying to make it the situation lighter, so that it's not heavy, a situation where you're just bogged down with misery. So I'm trying to make it light. And when I say that, well, God is going to handle it eventually. But for the moment, I'm going to handle it.
All right. So then I want to ask a question, and let's go Bible then. All right, because one of the things we said in this marriage conference was we're going to reset. We're going to talk about what God's purpose for the marriage was so that we can begin to show, and we used this term last week, the architect. You know, we got my wife is in IT, we got IT over here, and they understand that when they're doing programs and codes and trying to launch pilots and all of that kind of stuff, that sometimes if something goes wrong, there is something that we all might be familiar with called the manufacturer's setting. That means the manufacturer that created this, they already had a set put together. And sometimes we have to go back to the default setting to start all over again. And the default setting says this was the intent of the program. Somewhere we strayed away. So in marriage, God is the architect, so he is the manufacturer. And we want to do in this conference is reset and let's take it back to the manufacturer setting. So now, does the Bible give any of us, man or woman, license to say because the bills are not paid, we shouldn't have intimacy?
No, I have not seen that in the Word.
Anybody else? All right, go ahead.
Well, I have a question.
Go ahead, we got a question.
Okay, so I'm listening to the experience of the couples, and I'm hearing that, you know, the distraction is finances. And I'm hearing the women's side of we need to know the full details. And the men's side of is already in the works. But maybe I'm a little bit of an overthinker. So what I'm really hearing is the issue is not really the finances. The issue is really the communication. So where is it where, like, when you say factory reset, when do you realize that that's really the factory reset and not the actual finances? Because, like you said, bills are continuous. And I'm just going to put it out there, you know, single people stress about it too.
All right, that's right.
But, you know,
lady in the house.
But we work through it and we get it done. You have two. So I get it, you can still have the struggle, but you have two people. And if y'all working together, I feel like now you're going into a little bit deeper of communication instead of really the actual subject of finances. So what would be your solution or example of getting to that point?
Good point, and I was going to bring this up. So what works for Lisa and I is this thing that, as the brother here mentioned, that the man is supposed to pay all the bills, right? That's what is thought and what is portrayed in our society. But what works for us is I pay some of the bills and my wife pays other bills. So we're a team. That's what works for us. I'm going to say honestly, we did try putting all our coins in one basket, and it just didn't benefit me. I didn't see it. And I say it jokingly like this because we'll be at the grocery store shopping. I would only have $20 in my pocket to last me for the week. You know, for lunch, to get back and forth from work, gas. And we get up to the cash register, my wife opened her wallet, she got $50 bills, $100 bills. And I'm like, wait a minute. Why is it that I have just this amount of money, but you're in abundance over there? So I jokingly say that, but what works for us works for us. Some marriages, it may not work in that fashion, but it works for us the way we had it set. I can say, thank God we haven't had any financial sort of stress out of the 24 years that we've been married. Honestly, my wife had the down payment for our home. So today I'm blessed where I have a decent job and I'm making a nice salary, but 23 years ago, I was just starting my career. Yeah. You know, I had dreams and goals that I was trying to accomplish. Like, okay, when I reach a certain age, I want to be in this financial quota or this salary range, and you know, I'm there now. But without her being able to have that nest egg to put down on the home, we wouldn't even have a home. But when she did that, I made a promise that, okay, you put that down payment down on our home, I'm going to pay the mortgage from this day all the way forward. And I've done that, and I stay committed to that. So teamwork is what makes it work. So you have to analyze your situation and you and your mate have to decide what works best for you.
But you know what? We're on one, not two. We work as one. What's yours is mine. My wife said,
Oh, absolutely.
what's yours is mine. I said, what I got is yours. What you got is mine.
Right.
So we're together. So if I don't have it, I know you got it. I got your back. And she got my back.
Right.
And that's how we operate. You need money? Okay, get it. You know, and then I make sure that she has money. When I don't have money, make sure she has the best. When I have the less, because she's the first.
Amen.
Look, go ahead.
No, I wanted to get back to Lynette's question, and that was about the communication. That's what it's really, really all about. So, Steve and I, we've been married, it'll be
32 years.
32 years. And for 32 years of our marriage, we have one joint checking and savings account. Everything that we have is in one pot. We share everything, and we communicate. When we first got married, we communicated the plan. The plan was, how are we going to work this thing? And we said, hey, we communicated. We said, we think that it works for us that we have one checking account, one savings account. Your paycheck goes in that account. My paycheck goes in that account, and we divvy the bills. Whoever handles the bills the best is the one who handles that. In the beginning, it was Steve. Then it shifted to me. I handle the bills now, and so we planned it out. And so that's when you're having problems with your finances, it is key, like you said, Lynette, to communicate. Communicate with them. What is the problem? What's the solution? Or what's the plan? And then what's the solution? Communicate it to each other.
Right.
I agree, because two things to me that can destroy your relationship is communication and finances. If you don't communicate, that will destroy. Finances will destroy your marriage or your relationship, to me. So, like First Lady said, that works for her.
Right.
It didn't work for us. It did not work. And I saw it. I saw that it didn't work because I was putting him on a budget. He didn't like being on a budget. So we have separate bank accounts and we have a joint bank account. And he knows his bills and responsibilities, and I know mine. And at the end of the day, if I need him, he's there. If he needs me, I'm there. So we have the joint, we have the combined, but it works for us. So it depends on what works for your marriage.
The communication.
Yes.
Well, after 56 years, we started out with one bank account. We started out with me trying to pay the bills. But I was like, Will, I wanted more money in my pocket than I wanted in the bank. And it just didn't work. But we never, and I always said from the beginning, I was never ever going to argue about money. It was not going to be your money and my money. We was never going to argue about money because, like you said, that is a deal breaker for marriage. And 56 years later, she handles all the bills and I relax.
Yeah. And he wants to be affectionate, but I'm paying the bill.
That's what you handle them.
But getting back to that, I don't think that when there's a bill due and it's on your mind, of course, you're going to be concerned about that. I don't think that it should enter the bedroom because you got to remember there's good and there's bad. And those were your vows. Basically, I'm going to accept you with the good and the bad. And it's not necessarily bad to be broke. It's not necessarily bad. Because you're not going to, there's always a light at the end of the tunnel. And I can tell you from experience that we've been in that situation where, how are we going to pay this bill? But it never, ever entered the bedroom.
Did you all hear that? 56 years of marriage said, you don't let the finances enter the bedroom. And look, and one of the things to your point, Lisa, about finance and destroying marriages, infidelity and cheating is not the number one reason for divorce. Finances is the number one reason for divorce because it permeates all throughout every area of your life. And if you allow it to enter the bedroom, that's why I asked the question. I said, now, according to the Bible, does the Bible support saying, well, because the bills are past due, I have a right to not feel intimate right now. I have a right to not give to my spouse what the Bible, what the manufacturer set up for my spouse to have. Because so now as we got a couple minutes left, how does that trickle into other parts? So now when you talk about infidelity, it started out as a conversation about bills, which led to I can't do it because stuff is past due. I can't do it because we don't have the money. So does the physical needs go away?
No.
They still have to be met, right? And I think that's what people fail to understand, that you can't just say, well, because we're going through this hard time. And I'm glad you said that about the vows. One of them was for richer or for poor, for better or for worse, in sickness and health. And if you look at the PowerPoint we have, it talks about all those other things too. Sickness, health issues, age, not emotional, mental, and spiritual disconnections. You know, all of these things come into play, and what happens is, if you're not getting it at home, and then look, and I would just put it this way, you have a relationship with God, but the devil knows how to come in too.
Amen.
So we have to be able to guard that because he will take that situation, that legitimate bill situation, and he will use that to destroy your marriage. Because if all you're focused on is the bill, that says you're not even focused on who the bill payer is. See, and when you're looking at the spouse only, and it's their job to pay it, and we say, listen, our great provider, our Jehovah Jireh, if we're as a couple going to God in prayer over this, because if it's my bill that's past due, it's your bill past due. The light go out, guess what? We both sit in the dark. So we both need to be able to come together in prayer, and as Lynette was saying about communication, it is. The first thing we have on here is number one cause for divorce and no intimacy is poor communication. And we use the word poor because people think they have communication. Now I want to ask this before we adjourn. When we talk about love languages and how I want to be communicated, I hear this. How do I want to be communicated to? How do I want it to come to me? And I think that's a problem in marriages too. You know, because sometimes you have one person that's too hard, another might be too soft, but your love language is, I need someone to talk to me like a human being.
Right.
Not talk to me like I'm their child. So then let's talk about that real quick. So if there's poor communication, can that lead to sexual disconnect and emotional disconnect? How do you all want to be communicated to in an argument or discussion? Will?
How do I want to be talked to? Well, one, just respectfully. You know, respect me as a man and respect me as your husband. And I hate to say it as a man. That's not to put any specific onus on the fact that I'm a man and I need respect. But just respect me as an individual, as a human, as the person that you love and who you married, right? Mm-hmm. So if we can keep it on that level, then we're fine. There will be times where my wife may be disappointed or upset about something, and she may express it in a way. But as long as it's been expressed in a way where I don't feel disrespected or feel belittled, then yeah, let's talk about it. You know, and I said I was going to say this, and Lisa's about to smile. So, so we just celebrated our 23rd anniversary, right? As I mentioned, February 23rd. I'm sorry, 24th wedding anniversary, February 13th. But a few days prior to that, we had a heated discussion.
All right.
You know, it happens.
Talk about it. They had a marriage moment.
We had a marriage moment. We had a moment, right? So we had a moment where it affected me, where I felt that, back to the word communication, I wasn't communicated about a decision that was made that really impacts both of us. So by that happening, I had to express my feelings about the situation. And yes, my voice was a little higher. I won't say higher, but it was a little, what would you say? It was forceful, because I had to get my point across, right? So, and I know by me speaking in those terms, I know how sensitive my wife is, so I knew it affected her in a way, but I wasn't disrespectful in any manner, but I had to say how I felt about it, and she understood that. So, I love to just get some air. I like to get in my car and drive sometimes. Sometimes you gotta step away from the situation. That way you can start thinking, right?
That's right.
So I know I'm thinking, she's thinking, I was gone, I come back home. First thing my wife does, she comes downstairs. Are you straight now? I said, yes, I am. And she came down, gave me a kiss, and we were fine. But the fact that we communicated, had we not communicated, that situation could have boiled over into something totally different. I could have kept it to myself. I could have had an attitude about it. I could have, for a few days, maybe been in a different mood, and she doesn't know why. And that also impacts the bedroom as well. Right? So your body language, things like that. So everything goes back to communication at the end of the day.
Can I say something? I just want to say that a marriage moment, and Darlene will tell you I say this all the time, that arguments or moments in a marriage are healthy because, for one, it sets boundaries. Whatever it was that caused the argument in the beginning, and you learn that it upsets her, then you learn that to avoid that. So, and I tell her that all the time. And we've had our ups and downs, but it's not to, when you have an argument, you still have to be respectful. But they're healthy because, like I say, they set boundaries.
And then, too, my problem is sometimes you have, or you're discussing things, and you used to do, well, you're taking it the wrong way, or you're not hearing what I'm saying. And a lot of times I didn't, because when I would tell him, well, you're not really communicating exactly what you're saying. And he said, oh, don't take it like that. But this is the way I perceived it. So you have to understand in communicating and understand how the woman perceived what you're trying to say. But sometimes they jump out there, well, you ought to know what I'm talking about. No, I don't. But the communication is the key. With me, like
You can't assume.
communication and trust, that's my two issues.
And you want to say something? All right. So now, I'm glad we're keeping it under that communication. Now, I want to hear from Caleb and Tian. We have a person in the audience who likes to holler, old school. So I want to hear from new school. How do you all communicate? Tian, how do you like him to communicate? If you got something that's going on with you and you're talking to him about it and he's bringing something to you, how do you want it brought to you?
Definitely respectfully, and that's the first thing, out of respect. And then I would like, for us to actually hear each other instead of like talking over each other and cutting each other off and not actually listening to each other. I guess that's like a big thing, and just being attentive to each other when we talk to each other, I guess. Yeah.
What about you, Caleb? How long have y'all been married?
A year and like 4 months.
A year and 4 months. We'll give him a hand.
I always say we're going on 2 years. Just keep it like that, But from my perspective, that's what I can speak from. I understand that women, and every woman is not like this. I'm just talking about my significant other. She requires me to be attentive to her needs when she's stressed out about a situation. And even though I might be stressed out, as a man, the type of stress that we go through is just ridiculous. I have a son that I had before we even got married. So, I'm dealing with my son, I'm dealing with my mother, I'm dealing with the relationship, I'm dealing with work here, multiple stream jobs and different things like that. So, but I also have to make sure I'm doing what I'm doing for my wife, because that's the most important thing to me, is making sure that she's cool, you know, making sure that her head is on straight, because if she's not straight, then I'm not straight. Because, you know, when I lay down at night, you know, she don't give me that kiss or, you know, acknowledge me that I got in bed, you know. I'm like, something ain't right, you know what I mean? And now I'm waking up on edge. My guys hit me up like, man, what's wrong with you? Why you talking to me like that? You know, man, I ain't gonna spill the beans, you know, but I'm just keep it honest, you know. So us being a young couple, communication definitely is growing for us. It's grown. We've been together 5 years. It's grown since day one. I mean, we was like kids when we got together. And now I became a man, you know, in my own right. She's become a woman in her own right at this moment right now. So I have to respect her as the woman of God she is, and she has to respect me as the man of God that I am. And we both have a purpose. We both have a purpose in life, in God, at work. You know, when she makes accomplishments at work, when she tells me that she just moved up at work, I get so ecstatic. You know, my wife just got a promotion. I'm telling my guys about it, like, man, she's a teacher. You know what I mean? Like, shoot, when I'm telling you, it just it motivates me to continue growing and continue to do the things that are my dreams and all my goals. You know, before we got together, I had dreams and aspirations, and then it just seemed like when I got with her, I just started working even harder towards those things. You know, a woman, like as a man, you have a lot of things going on, and there's so many things you got going on. You need some help just to manage those things. Not like, oh, she got to do this for me, but like just managing those thoughts. And when that happens, it's like she put an extra battery in your back, and you're able to. Like I'm telling you, I'm a living testimony towards this. I mean, everything that I've done is literally she's been there to support me. Now she might not be there like, oh, come on, do it, babe. She might just tell me like, you know, I just want you to do a good job. She might not even show up. But just to know that it's one person. Because sometimes I go a lot of different places, I don't even know some people. You know, I never even seen this person. But she just gave me that motivation that I needed to go up there and sing, go up there and play, go up there and be a minister to other people like us. You know what I mean? So that's pretty much it from a young couple.
That's a good one.
I just wanted to share, because this is about empowering. So I wanted to share that my son, my baby son, my youngest son, he taught me the best way to communicate, and that's in my marriage, to other people. When he was talking to me, one day he was telling me about his day. He was about 5 years old, I think. He was about 5 years old. And he was telling me about his day, and I was cooking, wrestling around with papers, doing other things. And he said, "That's okay, Mom. I'll talk to you later." I said, "What's wrong?" And so he took my face just like this and turned it to me, and he said, "Look at me in my face." And what he was telling me is that, Mom, when you're doing other things, when you're wrestling around with other things, you're not engaged in me. You're ignoring me. You're listening, but you're not listening. And so when you're communicating, whether it's with your spouse, at work, whatever, when you all are communicating, whatever the communication is,
That's right.
I highly recommend it, because he may not tell you that, oh, she's not out there. Or sometimes you may be the only support that person ever has. And so if they see you out there in that audience, they see your face, they know they got, Steve always say, I know I got one amen.
That's right.
So if you can do that as couples, always support each other in that way.
All right, as we go ahead and conclude, one for couples that are all listening about how to communicate, something else our youngest son taught both of us. He says that he said, make sure you, what did he say, don't hit below the belt.
Don't cross the line.
He said, don't cross. Sometimes those discussions, while they may start out healthy, if they keep going and going and there's no resolution and the temperature starts rising, the thermometer, the devil gets in, and that's when we start taking jabs and hitting below the belt. And he always said, that's why they say, play fair. Even in war, there's something that's called the rules of engagement. So married people, you got to understand the rules of engagement in your marriage. We're not to be talking to our mate like somebody off the street. You know, we don't come at them like we're coming at the brother that's coming towards us on the street or the sister. We're supposed to be, everybody using the word respect. We should throw in there empathy, understanding, and sometimes it's just listening. My wife told me that. She said, I don't need you to answer everything. I don't need you to give me a solution. Sometimes I just want you to hear me and listen. And I used to be like, well, what'd you tell me for if you don't want me to do that about it? Because naturally, men, we're fixers. Oh, you got a problem? Oh, yeah, okay. Let me get to it. But she's like, wait a minute, no. I just wanted to get it off my chest. I just wanted to be heard. Right. And fellas, here's a free one before we end. I didn't have to say anything anymore. All I had to do was be present in the moment, not on my cell phone, not zoning them out, but be present in the moment, didn't have to say anything, and didn't have to fix anything. We call that a win-win. Now, I would tell her, I said, okay, babe, I said, now, communication-wise, I said, now, when you want me to do something, then say, okay, Steve, I told you this, now I need to know what can we do about it. Right. Now I need your help. See, that way I was always jumping in, and she wasn't being heard. And so once she communicated me, listen, just listen, and I'll let you know if I need you to do something. Then I wait for the conversation to end. And then if she don't say she needs me, I say, you okay now? We good? Have a hug, we go on about our business. But if she say, okay, now, and she'll say, babe, she's like, she'll call me and say, look, I just need you, I gotta talk, you gotta tell me what to do about this one. And then, we talk off a cliff. And sometimes she talks me off a cliff. Because in ministry now, I need that. I have to learn to communicate how I'm feeling because I'm taking on a lot of other people's situations now. So for couples understand, like she was talking about communication, good communication means you're honest, you're open, you're vulnerable, you're empathetic, and learning that, listen, my mate is not my enemy. Men, our wives are not our enemy. Wives, your husband is not your enemy, and men, we're not our wife's father. They had a father. Women, guess what? We had a mother. The Bible says, therefore shall a man and woman leave his mother and father and cleave to his wife. That means that we left our mother not to have another one. You left your dad not to be given another dad. We are in this together, so that if you can talk that way to each other, then you can establish better communication. And all of these things we got on here are just under the umbrella of communication. Love languages, I said this to somebody today. I know it's a book, and it's nice, but the 5 love languages to me should be called 5 decisions. Because you have to decide to give that person what they're looking for. You have to decide to honor how they want to be talked to. If they don't want to be yelled at, stop yelling at them. If that's what's going to shut them down because you got to get your point because you yelling, that's not communication. You don't know their love language. So therefore, you're not going to achieve your intended goal because you're not coming at them in a manner that they can receive the communication from you. So that's where you need to have those things. And those that are married early, we found that out early, didn't we? Okay, how does she want to be talked to? How do you bring something to me? Because don't we teach our kids that? We say, y'all can bring anything to mom and dad, but just how you bring it to us. But somewhere during the marriage, as you get down to that 5, 10, 15, 20 years, we forget that simple rule. And we start taking one another for granted. Well, she ain't going nowhere. He ain't going nowhere. He know that's how I am. That's just the way I talk. Yeah, but see, underneath that thing is bubbling. And that's when the devil gets in there. And now you get on here where it says number 4, emotional, mental, and spiritual disconnection. That's where that comes from. Because you're taking them for granted and you're assuming how they should be handled rather than trying to earnestly find out how they want to be talked to. And that's why we want to make sure, you guys, that if you're going to have intimacy in your bedroom, I love what he said. Keep the bills out the bedroom. Keep other people out the bedroom. Keep other topics out the bedroom. The only person supposed to be in the bedroom with you and your mate is God. Keep the devil out of your bed too. He's the reason why there's that space between y'all. Close that gap up and he don't have room to get in there. All right, last thoughts from our panelists and we'll be dismissed. Anything last thing you want to impart to the people on social media? Talk directly to the camera.
Well, hopefully everyone enjoyed this session. I know I did. Being married is definitely an honor, and I love my wife dearly, and I'm looking for 24 more years and more. This was a great time, and thank you again for the invite. Looking forward to maybe coming again.
Please come back next week.
Joining you all. So, yeah, really had a great time. So all you out there, hopefully you gained something fruitful from this, and you may take some of the things that we've all shared here today to help enhance your relationship and marriages.
Amen. With that being said, thank you. Oh, sorry, Lisa. No, go ahead. Please, Lisa. You sure? All right. Anything you want to impart before we end? Anything I knew, niece? Anything you want to tell your generation? Because, you know, y'all generation says that we are a dying breed. A woman told me that in my job today. She said, y'all been married 32 years. She said, oh, those people don't stay married like that no more. Like, my son said that. He said, Mom and Dad, y'all are a dying breed. Our generation, we don't believe in that. We don't believe that can happen. I want our year going on 2 years, Caleb. What can you say to your generation right now when they make a statement like that, real quick? Give them a mic, because I want them to hear it.
I mean, when I got married, I took a leap of faith. You know, I had doubts. You know, am I man enough? Will I become man enough? Is this really the person I want to be with? Just, you know, people put bugs and stuff in your ears. I mean, literally up to us getting up there and saying, I do. People looking at me like, you gonna go through it? I'm really gonna go through it. This is what I want to do. And, you know, that's the difference, like how I understand, like, the difference between a man and a boy. I know a lot of my friends that's in their 40s, and they talk to me, married? You 26 years old, you married? Like, yeah, I love my wife. You know, she's the best thing that ever happened to me. And they just can't believe that is true. That's my truth in my life. So, you know, anybody that's under the age of 30, marriage is possible through God. All you gotta do is take a leap of faith. You find somebody that you have that connection with, and she gets me like I've never been gotten by somebody else.
All right.
You know what I mean?
All right, man.
So, and I do the same thing for her. I was there multiple times for her, and she didn't have, well, she could have had somebody else, but she wasn't gonna have Caleb Sanders, you know what I mean? But, you know, I appreciate my wife, and I appreciate you guys even opening up your lives to us, you know, because us being young, we need to see stuff like this, because, you know, all my homies and all her friends, marriage ain't even in the question. Marriage ain't even in the question, you know. That's because they denying it. They don't want to get themselves together. You know, in order for me to have gotten married to my wife, I had to get myself together. I had to make some decisions that I didn't want to make. You know, I had to stop being a kid. I don't want to keep drinking and smoking with my friends. But she like, that ain't of God. So I had to make a grown man decision.
Oh, man.
You know, and she had to make a grown woman decision in order to unify and become one. And that's exactly what we did. So marriage is possible. Don't let nobody tell you that it's not, because that's just the devil speaking, using that, one of his servants, to try to stop you from doing what you need to do, stop your destiny. And God honors marriage.
Amen. Amen. And with that being said, thank you all for joining us. And here at GWC Ministries, Marriage Works Ministries, we believe marriage works when both people work at the marriage. And this has been your marriage moment, and we will see you all again on next Thursday. Please, our panelists, please come on back next week. A vibe called Blessed. Y'all see those shirts? A vibe called Blessed. Amen. We're so happy. We hope that our vets, our experts in the audience, and our singles come back. And listen, you all young people, invite some of your people. Invite people to this so they can come, and singles get the information. We give them the spill of the tea so you get the 411 on what to expect. All right? So come back and see us next Thursday, and also on this Sunday morning at 9 o'clock in Sunday School 2.0. We've got a young Gen Z millennial couple who's going to be helping us teach Sunday school. So we're letting marriage couples help us teach Sunday school in the Word. So tune in for that at 11 o'clock. And God bless you all, and we will see you on next Thursday.